just wanted to say that during my childhood, when I was growing up, I had a very rough childhood, I can say, because my parents, even though they had a love marriage, they had a troubled relationship. So I always saw them constantly worrying and stressing and fighting and not trusting each other. So I was very insecure when I was growing up. I had a lot of issues. Like I used to always question God that why have you made me? Like they don't love me. If they don't love me, why did they bring me in this world? And at a very early age, my brother came to Delhi and I was in Bombay alone. So obviously it was like I was with the servants a lot, and then I used to feel bad and dirty about myself. I used to feel that I have to prove my worth. I was in that mood of justification of I have to prove who I am to get the love. Because I'm not getting love, maybe there's something wrong with me. They are fighting, maybe there's something wrong with me because of their fighting. So all these wrong things that came in my mind about my self-image, and I had a very poor body image about myself. So at a very young age, I realized, and during my teenage years, I went into the bad company. I used to feel that if I am with these people and if they accept me, I'm cool enough. If at a young age, shoplifting and using bad language, and just to prove that yeah, I fit in this crowd, I'm good enough for this crowd, and it obviously gave you a sense of happiness, but inside you were still empty, right? You're not happy doing these things because you can't talk to your parents the way that you talk to your friends in these bad language. You can't tell your parents that see, today I picked up this from the store, because inside you know you've done something wrong, but just to be a part of that crowd, you do that. So I went to wrong relationships and found the love in the wrong places. I used to hurt myself, cut my hands and all that stuff, just to get that immediate gratification of an acceptance and love from those wrong people. So like when I finally in 2006 I got married, but before that in 2004 my brother literally pushed me and encouraged me to get a job, and I started working in this BPO where I met my husband, and he comes from a Christian family. So when he met me, he was like very clear that he didn't believe in love, he didn't believe in the concept of marriage, because he himself had a very troubled relationship with his parents, and his parents were constantly fighting. His brother and sister-in-law were constantly fighting. So for me, like, even though I've seen my parents constantly fight and everything, but for me that concept of love marriage is like the only thing. I can only think of having a love marriage. I can't have an idea of marrying someone I don't know. Like an arranged marriage is like a total no-no for me. So I was very clear when I was growing up that I'll have a love marriage, and obviously that fantasy that I'll have so many number of kids, and this will be a boy, I'll name him this, and all that stuff, right? As kiddish you can be. So I did all that, and when I met my husband, he was totally against marriage, and for me it was like I have to show him that love is true. It didn't matter to me that he was from a Christian family. It didn't matter to me. Anything didn't matter to me. For me, it was just that how can he not believe in love? And 1 year, 11 months later, we got married, and when he told me that you have to accept Christianity and everything, I knew it back of my head that I have to accept it, right? But when he said that okay, you will have to accept it, then it took me a while, because I can do it, right? But I have to, how do I tell this to my parents or my grandmother? Because everybody expects that once my daughter will get married, we'll have all these customs and all these things and all that stuff. So it was not hard. I will not say it was not hard, but it was a learning curve. So when I was spending time with my husband, and before marriage, and he used to tell me, and I realized that we connected on such a level, because he had a troubled childhood. He had a troubled their parents were constantly fighting like my parents, and my mother, she was never happy with that idea of having a second child. So my brother is 6.5 years elder to me, so she was never happy with that idea that okay, let's have a second child and all that. But because my brother insisted so much, and he wanted that he should have his own sister, she had me, and she went to the church, she prayed for me, and I was conceived. But my same way in my husband's house, my mother-in-law, she didn't want to have my husband, like her son. And even though she comes from a nursing background, my father-in-law and mother-in-law, they both are from the medical background, she even had medicines, pills to abort him, and yet he is born. So there is a God's plan, there's a God's purpose behind our story, and sometimes you feel that, oh, what is God doing in the situation? He's not doing anything. It's just a random thing, or it's a coincidence. There is no coincidence in these things, because how I met my husband, how we sustained for those many months and years together, and despite that he didn't believe in love, he didn't believe in the concept of marriage, we got married. It was the first intercaste relation or marriage in his family, and how I was open with that idea of accepting Christianity. And once I have accepted it, I was like, no turning back. It was not like I'm believing in this and that. So it was not like I'm like sacrificing anything or something, but it was just like it felt right, and it is right for me even till today. So I have no regrets of oh, I've sacrificed my religion or something like that, but I have so much of more clarity towards my relationship with my creator who has created me than what I had before. So obviously during that duration of marriage, it was a big learning curve, because you're trying to learn so many things, you're trying to fit into so many places, and you're trying to prove that they didn't make a mistake of getting you in the family and all that. So you're trying to constantly learn and learn and learn, and trying to be trying to impress them at the same time also by adaptability and all. But thankfully, by God's grace, God has made me like that, that even if I move to a new place, I adapt very easily to that place, to those people. So even in this, like when I came in this faith of Christianity, I just adapted so well, because I studied in a convent school. I love the praise and worship songs. I was in the school choir. So when you see in the background, God has been working, and it's not just like I was born and just bam, I'm in a new religion or something. It's the background has been building up. I've been to the school, I've seen the prayers, I've seen the praise and worship. I've got, like, in the background, things have been putting in place. So yeah, so like my daughter was born in 2008, and then after that, obviously, so when I was a child, when I was growing up, I really resented kids, because I was like the only spoiled, pampered child in the house, and I had no experience of taking care of someone else except me, and I just demanded that people should take care of me. So when Divya had her children, Ananya and Anand, and I was like, oh, these are two small babies that I have to take care of. I was the Masi for the first time, that there was someone smaller than me and I was responsible to take care of them. So suddenly that maternal instinct in me was like, wow, like I wanted to take care of these kids, and I loved like feeding them, taking to the park and all that stuff. So I never realized that I had that maternal instinct, but once I did, it was like so difficult to turn that mode off of me. So I like constantly craved that attention of being taking care of someone like a child, or yeah. So when my daughter was born, I still had that desire to have more children, right? Not immediately, but like maybe in 2010 or something, I had this desire that we'll have a second child. But for some reason or the other, it never happened. But the desire was there. So what happened, that during that desire, I started praying for people who didn't have children, because I knew how it felt, that you wanted something but you can't have, or you couldn't have. And I could understand the burden those people told me. People used to come up to me and say that, can you pray for me for us to have a child, I'm having problems and all this stuff. And I used to pray for them. But I remember, like, and the prayers started answering, people started having children and all these things. And one day I met a girl on Facebook, and we exchanged our phone numbers, WhatsApp numbers, and I've never met her, I've never spoken to her, never seen her, never had a video call with her, just random. And then when she saw my WhatsApp profile, she said, are you a Christian? I said, yeah. So she said she's from Tamil Nadu, but she lives in Belgium. So she told me that I've been married for past 7 years and I don't have my monthly periods, but I want to have a child. I'm like, okay, can you pray for me? I'm like, yeah, sure, I'll do that. So even when I used to go to church in like Sunday morning, before I could pray for my needs or my family needs or anything, these list of people used to be just like in my face, like, pray for this one, pray for this one, pray for this one. And with that burden in my heart to pray for them, literally crying and weeping that, God, you have given me a child. These people don't even have one child. This person is facing from infertility. Or if someone has one child but they have a desire, the child has a desire to have a sibling, Lord, can you give this person a brother or sister? And sometimes they used to be specific. Like I used to be like specific, like, can this one have a son? And I like it's not me that I said that this one should have a son or girl or boy, but it's just like come up, like, can this one have a son? Maybe that's the way God tells you, right? So, and that girl, I used to constantly message her, encourage her and tell her that don't worry and all that. And she had a lot of issues. She had thyroid, she was 95 kg plus, and she had a lot of issues and no periods and nothing. So it was like a very difficult journey just to encourage someone on the phone, and that only through WhatsApp message, and someone you don't know. But that burden was so strong that I used to literally pray that Lord give her a child, bless her, bless her. And I used to pray for her, her husband, and everything. Then one day she says that I've started having some spotting, and I had periods. And I was like, wow, like that's the first small tiny miracle, but that's a major thing, right? If someone's not having periods, suddenly you have period, like okay. And then 3 months down the line she tells me that I'm pregnant, and I was like, wow. And like, okay, praying, encouraging her, sending her songs, Bible verses, and encouraging her. Then I think around 7 months or 8 months later, during our conversation overall, she sends me a picture of a aborted baby, and she said I had a miscarriage. And I was like, oh, I was like, never seen a miscarriage child, never experienced a miscarriage, but obviously you can understand what she must have gone through. And I was like, don't worry, hang in there, I'm praying for you, I'm praying for you. So the days when she used to also not message me, I used to message her, ask her, how are you feeling? Don't feel depressed, I'm praying for you, I'm standing here for you. Again she got pregnant after some months. Again that child got miscarriage, and now it's like almost 2 years of our talking off and on, and constantly encouraging her, motivating her, praying for her. And it is so difficult, right? Like, for in our human sense we feel that, oh, how can you pray for someone? But God puts that burden on you to pray for someone, and that only God can do it. He can make, like, when I was growing up, I used to be like so impatient, like me myself. Like, even at times now also, when I'm like hungry or tired, I'll be like, I'm not patient at times. But God has made me so patient, and so like what you can say, like, even in that time of when you don't know what's going to happen, just constantly encouraging someone, giving that hope that hang in there, God is taking care of the situation, have faith, have faith, have faith. It is such a word of encouragement to someone. You don't know what the other person is going through, right? You can never understand what the other person is going through, but you never know that what your prayers are doing for that person. So in these times of waiting, in these years of 8-9 years of waiting, God has like changed me so much from inside out, like as a person, as a human being, constantly being careful about and like praying for someone that I don't even know most of the time. And till now, I think I have pictures. I will share a picture of more than 15 to 18 people that I have prayed for, and they have families now, they have children, and some have like one child, some have like completed their family. And what is that? It's not something I have done. It is only that God has used me as a vessel. God has used me as a medium in between to connect, to show His love to that person through me. That constant encouragement, constant pushing, that don't worry, don't give up, I'm there praying for you, God is there, just showing the love of God. So now, now that baby is 2 years old, but eventually she had a baby girl, normal. So even when she was pregnant with that baby, the doctor told her that the baby has an extra nerve in her brain. So she was very worried 7th month onwards. When she went for a scan and all, the doctor said even if the baby is delivered, the baby won't be normal. He or she will not live a healthy life, and this and that. I said, the God who has given you periods, the God who has given you this baby will take care of this child. So you do not need to worry. If God has got you this far, He'll take you ahead also. So just continue with your pregnancy, and we are like standing here in the gap praying for you. So when she delivered her child, when she delivered her baby, it was like I wept, I cried as if my daughter has given birth to a child, because it was such a burden on my heart to pray for her. In the middle of the night, I used to wake up and like, God, you have to take care of her, you have to take care of that small baby, you have to take care of that extra nerve. Like, when you talk to God as He is your father, like, how do you go to your father? Or like, how do you go? You don't go like, Papa, can I come to you? Or you do not take permission, you don't take appointment, you don't wait in the morning when he'll have his breakfast, then I'll go. You just run to your father. You just run to your father with your concerns, with your worries. You don't worry. You don't wait that how the mood is, or is Papa happy with me or not. Obviously those things are there, but like, you don't like are trembling and waiting that when you go to your father. You just run to your father that, Papa, this thing is not working out, can you help me with this? I don't understand the situation in my life, can you help me this? Or just thank Him for what He's done in all these years, and I'm so thankful that you have been with me. So that relationship with God has matured so much in these past years. And even though like all these babies are there, I might not have a smaller baby, like my daughter is 13 now, but those all those children are my spiritual children. I am a spiritual mother to them, and I on constantly when I pray for them, I bless them, because God, like when a child is born like this, when you've prayed for a child, right, you've prayed for someone's child, that child is not just a coincidence or an accident or a random child. That child has a purpose, that child has a plan, God has a plan for his future. So when God has given those children, he will take care of those children, he will sustain those families. But our work as human being is to trust him and constantly give thanks for bringing that life in our life, right? So what I just wanted to conclude is that the different types of places that I have come from. So like from coming from a childhood where I was so insecure in all these places, I don't feel any shame of saying that yeah, I was physically abused or all that stuff. I did shoplifting and all that stuff. It's like who I was, right? It's not who I am right now. And there are times that I have gone to those people, I have apologized to those people if I've done something wrong to them, and it's not like I have done that. It's like the God inside me nudges me that go and do it, make things right now. Like you can think about like at 80 when you're dying, you will think that oh, I should have said this, I should have said that. Why not now? In May it was my birthday. I went and apologized to my parents. I apologized to my bua. I apologized to my husband. I even apologized to my daughter. I was like, why wait? Oh, suddenly you have COVID and you're dying and not able to meet anybody. Why do that? I have time. If God is giving me that nudge that you have done something wrong, knowingly, unknowingly, in your ignorance, in your stupidity, in your childhoodness, you've done something wrong and you know it, you do go and apologize, right? But again, it needs guts and you need to have that push. So God changes you inside out. It's not like if you were something like this at the age of 16 when you were like trying to impress people, trying to do all those things. I'm at 38, I'm not the same, right? So when I see my friends on Instagram, on Facebook, and they see them leading a life like that, obviously you feel like oh, like at a very young age you're matured and you're like maybe all that is you're boring or something. But end of the day, I don't care if I'm boring or not. End of the day, I see how what kind of relationship I have with my God, and what kind of relationship I have with my family. Am I contented with that? I rather lead a simple humble life, having a small simple car, and that takes me from distance A to B, rather than having a big car which I can't afford on a EMI or something like that, just to impress somebody, right? So it all depends on how it matters is that what you do with your life and where do you want it to be tomorrow. When I grow older or when I pass on in life, I die, I want to see my daughter, I want my daughter to see me as a mother, as a woman who prayed, as a mother who constantly encouraged her, who spent time with her, baked with her, did paintings with her, was silly, who laughed a lot, and all those things, rather than just like running around and around, and making her a woman of faith. Like just understanding that my mother constantly prayed, my mother constantly had a good relationship with the God of heaven, so I can also have that. And the blessings, you never know that the way I'm praying for her right now, what it could do for her future. So it's obviously I don't know what kind of experiences you have been hearing in the past, but yeah, that's my journey, that how God made me a person, an intercessor. I am a praying intercessor. Like, it doesn't like come from myself, that God only puts that burden to pray for some person, for some situation. It could be for pregnancy, it could be for infertility, it could be like anything. Even that person's future healing. Like I have been cured of allergies. I had severe food allergies for the past 7 years. And then there came a time in my life that I said that is enough. I will not lead this life of any more of constantly having all these anti-allergies, because they used to make me so drowsy. And I was like, it is enough. I prayed over myself, and whenever I used to see that allergy come up in my body, I used to just pray over it. I was like, no, my God has already healed me, and this allergy doesn't have any place in my life. And within 2-3 minutes, 5 minutes, I used to see that allergy would have been gone. So whenever my daughter used to tell me that, Mama, your eye is swelling, your lip is swelling, I'd be like, no, don't give it any attention, because God has, by the stripes of Jesus, I'm already healed. It is written in the word of the Bible, by the stripes of Jesus, we are healed. It's a past tense, it's already been done. So when I see that sickness doesn't have a place in life, infertility, barrenness, all these things, all these issues, they don't have any place in the kingdom of God. So it is our responsibility to take that as authority and say that no, this has to stop. God doesn't want anybody to live in poverty. God doesn't want anybody to live in infertility or sickness or all these things. So we have to understand that what comes from God and claim it and like use it. If you know that this house is mine, you will be like confident sitting in that house. But if you don't know that is this house mine, is it someone else's house, is it a rented place, so you will not have that kind of authority, right? So in the same way, when you know that God has healed me inside out and sickness has no place in my body, you will pray like that. You will be more confident. You will be more secure about your prayers. You will not be like, does God want me to be healed? Is it His will to be for me to be healed? You're always in the confusion and that doubt. So that makes a lot of difference. So as a mother, as a new mom, when I was going through that situation, as a new wife, I was going through situations. I was obviously looking for a lot of places where I could find that kind of peace and that attention and all those things. But I always like ran back to the Father, like, God, I can't deal with this situation. Only you can do that. Like, God, how can I work in this situation? So my responsibility as a wife right now is to take care of my husband, as a mother, take care of my daughter, the house, and all those things. So even if I have some disagreement in the house, maybe with my husband, what is my role? My role is to take care of the house, the food, and all that. Once I do that, I am like, my conscience is clear, right? Because I have done my part. I'm not sitting in one corner of the house sulking that, oh, my husband doesn't speak to me well, or my daughter said this to me. What is my role? What is my responsibility? I do that. And God sees that, like, what is your part? Did you do your part well or not? Everybody is responsible for their own salvation, right? Everybody, I am answerable to God when I go to heaven. I can't say that my childhood was screwed up because of my parents, or my marriage was screwed up because of so and so. I am responsible for my own life. I am responsible for my own salvation. I am responsible for my health. I can't keep blaming someone and keep hovering over bitterness and anger and jealousy and constantly blaming someone. So end of the day, I constantly make sure that I constantly forgive people. I ask for forgiveness from people. Like, even if I am not able to meet them or on phone, I ask God that forgive me, I did so and so wrong. So end of the day, you have to make things right with your heart, with God, the person the God you believe. Because you can't just keep expecting that you do this and you do that, and your parents have prayed something for you and that's it. I am set. I don't need to do anything. It's an everyday process. Your mind renewal is an everyday process. Every day when I read the Bible, I do praise and worship songs. Every day I feel a new relationship, a new connection with God. So it's a constant journey, and I'm like just a baby in this journey. So obviously I just encourage you all that have faith, stay strong in your faith, and it's a beautiful journey. Don't give up. If you're feeling depressed, sad, or have anxiety right now because of the COVID or anything, or if you lost your loved one, I just pray that God will fill you with the peace and the joy and the happiness, and that God mends your heart. I just pray that God will give you that openness to love again, to have faith once again, and to move on in life, and constantly have that hope that God has better plans for you, and God's plans are always for our best. Thank you.